You felt it, didn't you? Something about you changed during Ramadan. The quiet nights, the discipline, the moments when you held back your anger, lowered your gaze, controlled your tongue, and stood alone in the darkness, speaking to your Lord. For a brief period, life felt clearer, your heart felt lighter, your priorities felt sharper. You woke up before dawn with purpose. You opened the Quran more than your phone. You spoke less nonsense and thought more about the person you were becoming. But now Ramadan is almost over, and a dangerous question is silently approaching your life. What happens after? Because every year, millions of people experience the beauty of Ramadan, only to slowly return to the same habits that once drained their souls. And the truth is uncomfortable. The real test was never Ramadan itself. The real test begins when Ramadan leaves. Ramadan is not simply a month that comes and goes. It is a mirror. For 30 days, it shows you a version of yourself that you rarely see during the rest of the year. A version of you that wakes up before the sun rises. A version of you that can control hunger, thirst, anger, desire, and distractions. A version of you that remembers that life is not just about surviving the day, but preparing for something far greater. During Ramadan, you prove something powerful to yourself. You are not weak. You are not controlled by your habits. You are not a prisoner of your impulses. For an entire month, you demonstrate discipline that most people claim is impossible. You skip meals without complaining. You stay away from things you normally indulge in. You become more patient with people who test your nerves. You become more aware of every word that leaves your mouth. That version of you is real. It is not temporary. It is proof of what you are capable of becoming. But something strange happens when Ramadan ends. Slowly, almost quietly, people begin drifting back to their old lives. The alarm that once woke them for dawn prayer becomes easier to ignore. The Quran that once sat open on their table slowly collects dust. The careful words they once chose become replaced by careless conversations. The same distractions that they successfully controlled during Ramadan slowly sneak back into their routines. At first, it feels harmless, just a small break, just a short rest. But days turn into weeks, and weeks turn into months, until the person who stood strong in Ramadan becomes a distant memory. And the tragedy is not that Ramadan ended. The tragedy is forgetting the person you proved you could be. Think about it carefully. Ramadan did not give you something new. Ramadan revealed something that was already inside you. The discipline you showed was always within your reach. The focus you developed was always possible. The patience you practiced was always part of your character, waiting to be awakened. Ramadan simply removed the noise long enough for you to see it. But if you return to your old habits immediately after Ramadan, you are not simply losing momentum. You are turning away from a version of yourself that you already proved exists. You are closing the door on growth that you worked so hard to open. That the days after Ramadan are some of the most dangerous days of the year for your spiritual life. Not because you become a worse person overnight, but because comfort begins to creep back in. The urgency that Ramadan created slowly fades away. During Ramadan, you were constantly reminded that time matters. Every fast had a beginning and an end. Every night prayer felt like an opportunity that might not return. Every moment felt meaningful. But when Ramadan ends, life suddenly feels longer again. You start telling yourself there will be time later to pray better, later to fix bad habits, later to become more disciplined, later to reconnect with your purpose. And that word later becomes one of the most dangerous illusions a person can live under. Because the truth is, the people who transform their lives are not the ones who perform well during Ramadan alone. Many people do that. Mosques become full, Qur'ans are open, charity increases, good intentions rise everywhere. But the ones who truly change are the ones who protect the momentum after Ramadan ends. They understand something that many others miss. Ramadan is not the finish line, it is the training ground. Just like an athlete trains for months before stepping onto the field, Ramadan prepares you for the real journey that continues after the month is gone. Imagine a person who trains intensely for 30 days straight. They wake up early, they run every morning, they eat carefully, they strengthen their body and mind. But the moment that training period ends, they return to sleeping late, eating poorly, and abandoning every discipline they built. Within weeks, their strength disappears. Their endurance fades, their progress collapses. All that effort becomes a temporary experiment rather than a permanent transformation. And spiritually, the same pattern happens to countless people every single year. You are not meant to be the same person before and after Ramadan. That month was meant to reshape you. The hunger was meant to teach you control. The nights were meant to teach you devotion. The quiet moments were meant to teach you reflection. The sacrifices were meant to teach you that your soul can rise above your desires. If Ramadan did its job correctly, then the person you were before the month began should feel unfamiliar to you now. Your standards should be higher. Your awareness should be sharper. Your heart should be more protective of its time and attention. But here is something most people never talk about. The reason many people return to their old selves after Ramadan is not because they lack faith. It is because they lack a system. During Ramadan, the structure of the month carries you. The fasting schedule organizes your day. The nightly prayers bring you back to the mosque or your prayer mat. The atmosphere around you reminds you constantly of your purpose. But once the month ends, that structure disappears. And if you do not replace it with your own system, your life slowly falls back into the patterns that existed before. This is where the real work begins. The question is no longer whether you can change. Ramadan already answered that question. The real question is whether you will protect the change that already started inside you. Will you guard the habits you built? Will you keep even a small portion of the discipline that Ramadan trained you to practice, or will you slowly surrender to the same distractions that once controlled your time, your attention, and your energy? Because the difference between a temporary spiritual high and a lasting transformation is consistency, not perfection, not dramatic gestures, just consistency. The person who continues waking up a little earlier, the person who continues opening the Quran even when the excitement of Ramadan has passed, the person who continues protecting their tongue from careless words, the person who continues remembering that their life has a purpose beyond comfort and entertainment. Those small decisions quietly shape a completely different future. And here is the deeper reality. The end of Ramadan is not a loss. It is an opportunity. Because the habits you build when there is no special month pushing you forward, those are the habits that define who you truly are. Anyone can become temporarily disciplined when the entire world around them is encouraging it. But the strongest character is built when no one is watching, when the environment is quiet, and when you must rely on the lessons that Ramadan planted inside you. Right now, you are standing at a crossroads that appears every year but is rarely noticed. One path leads back to the person you used to be, The same routines, the same distractions, the same cycle of good intentions that fade away with time. But the other path leads somewhere far more powerful. It leads to the person Ramadan showed you that you could become. A person who lives with purpose, a person who guards their time, and a person who remembers that discipline is not seasonal, and the choice between those two paths is not made with a single dramatic decision. It is made quietly, day by day, habit by habit, choice by choice. Because the real question after Ramadan is not whether the month changed you. The real question is whether you will protect that change or abandon it. There is a quiet moment that arrives after Ramadan ends. The nights become ordinary again. The special atmosphere fades. Life slowly returns to its normal rhythm. And it is in this calm transition that your future begins to take shape. Because what you choose to do in the days immediately after Ramadan reveals something deeper than what you did during the month itself. Ramadan showed what you are capable of when the environment supports you, but the days after Ramadan reveal what kind of person you truly want to become. Many people think the challenge is over when the month ends. They treat Ramadan like a spiritual event that has finally passed. But the people who truly understand its purpose see it as a starting point. They know that the discipline, patience, and awareness developed during those 30 days were not meant to disappear. They were meant to become the foundation of a new life. Think about the version of you that existed during Ramadan. You were more careful with your time. You were more aware of your words. You controlled your desires and resisted distractions. You proved to yourself that you were capable of living with discipline and purpose. That version of you was not temporary. It was simply the real you that uncovered when the noise of everyday life was removed. But distractions are patient. They do not rush back all at once. They creep in slowly. One missed habit, one wasted hour, one careless routine that quietly returns. Before long, the clarity you felt during Ramadan begins to fade. The powerful version of yourself that stood strong during the month starts to feel distant. This is why the days after Ramadan are so important. They determine whether Ramadan was just a spiritual experience or the beginning of real change. The goal is not to maintain the exact intensity of Ramadan. The goal is to protect its spirit. Even keeping a small portion of the discipline you practiced can slowly reshape your entire life. Maybe you cannot do everything you did during Ramadan, but you can still protect moments of reflection in your day. You can still open the Quran regularly. You can still guard your words and your time. These small acts may seem simple, but they quietly build a life of consistency and purpose, because real transformation is not built on short bursts of motivation. It is built on quiet consistency. The person who grows the most is not the one who does everything perfectly for a month. It is the one who refuses to completely abandon the progress they made. Ramadan showed you what your life can look like when discipline leads the way. The question now is simple. Will you return to the same habits that once controlled your time and attention, or will you protect the version of yourself that Ramadan revealed? The month may be ending, but the person you are becoming is just beginning.